Hello and welcome everyone, my name is Drewlik and we're doing PvP. So today, I'm on my sniper, on which character am I going to be else? And I am once more playing Engineer. Now, I'm going to use this game to highlight certain aspects I wanted to talk about, about the PvP state in general. This game is particularly interesting for this matter because it is a very long game. We do not ever tap middle. And games like these are pretty rare. They're not infrequent. The rise of 3.0 has made them quite frequent, but it's not your everyday game. So here you can see me just having a nice look at who the enemy team may be. So finding a sniper here already, a bit interested, and moving over to the middle emplacement. So this is basically the goal right now. Somebody is also going to the ground emplacement, which is pretty nice, and yeah. So the very first thing I want to talk about as we are moving into mid, the very first thing I want to show is that every game needs context. I don't know how often it is that somebody will say something along the lines of, I healed 1.4 million in that game, or I did 800k damage. Now, it is nice, of course, to have these numbers floating around, and it, of course, always, sounds very impressive. As you can see me here, just dealing some damage, finding, it's kind of the phase right now where you kind of find out who the healers are. So I'm dealing a bit of damage to the Juggernaut, who gets immediately guarded because they also have a tank. Fuck this game. So, as I said, you need context in any case. Because on its own, I did 2 million damage or I did 1 million damage doesn't mean anything, because it could be one of these games. So, the length of the game is very important. It's quite obvious. The longer the game goes, the more damage you are going to do. So, looking at DPS is what many people do. They say like, whoa, he's got 1.5k DPS or he's got 2k DPS, so he's a pretty good player. The problem with that is, of course, you address the time issue with that. You absolutely have addressed that issue. You know now the game has been an X amount of time and you still managed to have, 1k DPS. The problem is it still doesn't hold the context that you need to evaluate a game. If you, for example, have got 3 healers in the enemy team and they tank, or maybe even 2 tanks, and you can freely deal damage and you're also playing an AoE spec, then it's not very impressive that you deal 3k DPS. And if the game, if nothing really happens, nobody really dies, if your other players aren't very good, you do 3k DPS but nobody dies. On the same sort, you could deal 1k DPS while, no healers on either side, and you are constantly being pressured by the enemy team. And so you're kind of surviving against a damage dealer only combination, so you're very, very pressured at every time, but you deal as much damage as you can. And in both cases, the player can be the absolute same skill level. They can do everything right. They can do everything right that they can do right. They can both play perfectly, and the one player will have 1k DPS and the other player will have 3k DPS, and it is going to be fine. It's absolutely fine, because the context of the game does matter. So right here you can see the sniper trying to ambush me as I rolled away, and now I'm dealing a bit of AoE damage here. Also, what I'm doing is, of course, fluffing the damage a bit, but it's also zone control. So this is what I do with the sniper very often. I'm going to talk about that a bit later. So I did follow the sniper over here. That Dr. Venkman, I think that's from Ghostbusters, isn't it? So we've got the sniper over here as I'm once more being taunted, of course, and the guy gets a guard. But the thing is, he doesn't have an entrench, so he was at a big disadvantage the whole time I focused him, so he does die right about now. And now I am looking into moving back to the middle emplacement. As I see on the minimap, oh, there's a guy attacking it, so I probably should help him out. So I go over here, and I try and help him out, but again, he's not doing too good of a job. That is a Madness Sorcerer who has got a guard. I think there's nothing worse than that if you're a damage dealer. He has a guard, so he's not going to get bursted, and also he just can deal all of his fucking dot damage all day long. He's even hard-casting I'm being pleased. He's even hard-casting the Demolish. That makes me sad. So I did blind the guy right here, as I'm frantically trying to survive this, and I'm dead. So, yeah. Not much going to happen there. The assassin didn't really know what he was doing right there. He was attacking the emplacement 2v1, but it didn't do that good of a job against the Mad. I mean, I can't really blame it, it's the Madness Sorcerer, so I'm not going to be, I'm not going to say anything bad about him. So going back to the themes I want to explore in this game, I already said so. The scoreboard at the end, you can get really excited about it, and say things like, you've got like the 200 million and everything, and it's not that impressive, because the context is very important, as this game is just a game where most of the game I'm mid and dealing damage, so it's not, and it's also a very long game, because if one team does not hold both emplacements, then you're going to be here for a very, very, very long time. Same thing applies with the bunker with the bunker thing on Novar Coast. Novar Coast can even go indefinitely, because no damage is actually dealt while only one bunker is active. So if you have very even teams on Novar Coast, and you're at middle all the time, and you're not really too interested in tapping anything, or you have good tanks that interrupt and good damage dealers that interrupt tapping, then you could conceivably farm 4 million damage or something like that. And it's not impressive, because the game was just that long. It's not a mark for being the very best player. Once more, he just reduces my accuracy. A nice play of him there, he reduced the accuracy and then rooted me, but I just used my evasion to counter that, because I didn't want to get critted, because he's playing marksman, the other sniper, so yeah, fuck him. Not fuck him, this is his choice. So you can see me having a bit problem with my camera here, so ever since I had the camera panned out a bit more, I do have problems when being up here, because it always pans out too far. So I kind of panned in right now with my camera, which makes it a bit more easy to change my angles, because I use my angling for I use my angling for targeting, because I have center screen target enabled. So I'm probably going to do a video on that as well in the future, but for now, just know that I have managed. So jumping down here, stunned the sniper. It's a love story between us two. I mean, all game long we've been smashing each other's faces. You can see him right there. Just kicked me away with his tricks. I had to use the mitigation right there. He just preemptively rolled away, because he doesn't want to get too low through my shots there. So once more, I'm being quite attacked, but I also got the guard and got healed, as once more my accuracy is reduced and I'm being rooted, and once more getting an awful lot of damage in from all of the sorcerers. This is not living. Yeah. So as I was already going about, so context, we already explored context is important for a game, because I had games with people who did 3 million damage, and I'm not impressed by any number of damage. Because it's just fluff damage essentially, I would be impressed if somebody did 3 million damage single targetly, but then again, if it's a particularly long game, then that's not too impressive either. With healing anything under 1 million in a normal game, I'm not too impressed either. So I really don't know, because you really, if you weren't there in the game, then nothing really means anything. So as I said, I'm not too impressed, because already on level 55 you had these kinds and types of game. They were a lot rarer back then, because PvP wasn't so broken as it is now. I mean, it's not really broken, but PvP was a lot different back then, and even then you had these games. I myself healed once 3 million healing I had once, and I've seen people had 4 million healing even. I once had 2.5k DPS. And all of what I'm talking about is on level 55. So this being 60 and healers being what they are, which is quite ridiculously strong, it's not impressive. It's not impressive at all. So anybody who's out there who's trying to use damage as an objective metric when describing your game, please stop. You're not actually saying anything about your game. Now, going back to all of what happened here, the other thing I want to explore, and I kind of glossed over this, is how ridiculous healing actually is. Now, we aren't getting anywhere here. Well, for once, if the focus is a bit of an issue, we don't have that good of a focus. If we would pressure the healers a bit more, because these healers, they aren't too good, they aren't playing too well, and if we just pressure them a bit more, we could have killed them very effectively. But again, it's a pug group, so I'm not saying like oh my god, nobody attacks the healers, because attacking the healers in general isn't what wins you the game. It's an integral part of applying pressure. But if you are able to apply enough pressure to the enemy team, you know, you don't even have to focus the healers. In this game, of course, this would have been the extra little bit of pressure that would have probably won the game, which inherently didn't happen. So you could see here they have 2 healers and a tank, and this is why nobody dies. And this is why I just have to say this is not good. This is not healthy for the game. 2 healers, if 2 healers are enough to completely and consistently heal up every player in your team, then your healers are a bit overpowered. And I know other people have said that, they have expressed their opinions. Healing is a bit overtuned. It really is a bit of it. Look, just look. I bursted him to half HP and he's already full again. That is a bit ridiculous here. So nobody really is dying because it's not really possible to combo people. Everybody is saying these days in the comments that I prefer bursting specs over dot specs. And that's not true. I very much like dot specs. It's just the thing is, dot specs make literally no sense in this metagame. The reason why I just play all of these very bursty type specs is because it's the only real thing with which you have an impact. I could no problem play Virulence in this game and do 3 million damage, and it wouldn't do anything. Because it's fluff damage, it's AoE, it is just healed away with a flick of the wrist of modern healers. Modern healers have so much AoE healing. And the reasoning that some of our guys, and this is also, oh my god, I'm opening my pains here and I'm having a bit of a problem there. The reason why nobody effectively is dying here is because many of these players on either side, so they don't, you know, on the enemy side and on our side, don't exactly know how to deal single target damage. They really don't know how to do it. The only thing they know, because they look at this metric and look at the damage at the end, and they want to be one of these, you know, high ranking guys. They want to be up there, and all they try to do is maximize their output. Now this is of course nice. It can apply a lot of pressure, but it doesn't kill people. The other thing I have seen, you know, as I'm talking, you know, just about this, you can see everybody drops to at least 40%, and then they just survive. Oh, this time I actually killed somebody. But yeah, that's of course always nice. You know, I'm telling you something, and then I do something differently. So as I was saying about all of this, yeah. So killing blows are very important in a game type like this, because this is really the only thing that really changes the outcome. Because the turning point occurs when there aren't enough players anymore to defend. And if you just, you know, every 5 minutes kill one guy, then you're not really gonna turn anything around. As you can see right here, the middle placement hasn't been effectively contested. And this is basically our life now. We're just dealing AoE damage. And I am aware that I'm also dealing AoE damage here, but I do it for zone control. So my AoE is a bit different. I'm not wasting precious global cooldowns on dotting people who are off targets just to increase my damage. I actually use AoE spells because of course it's nice. On some level I do it because I can then AoE people and farm more damage. That's of course something I'm always very interested in. But the other thing is it does do zone control. So people have to move, or generally do move out of AoEs, and through putting an AoE somewhere, then my enemies will move out of it, which means that they can cast less. So it does apply indirectly, you know, it does apply some pressure to healers. They have to move, they can't, you know, finish their cast or anything like that. Oh my god, this is 2% HP left, and he just bubbled and survived. Now, in terms of this game in particular, this especially in this game, you can see that our points are being detracted first. So just by, I don't know, half a second or something, yeah, just about like 1 second or 2 seconds, they have tapped their emplacement a bit faster than us, because maybe somebody ran over there a bit faster, and their points are being dealt first. So nothing really is happening here in mid, and this really is what I mean with fluff damage. People are so concerned about their overall damage output that they don't even know. Sometimes they don't even know how to properly combo somebody to kill them. It's not a habit of mine that I really like to absolutely combo him. Of course, it's very satisfying to do, but I could absolutely do without that, you know. If I would happily just play a pressure spec that just deals pressure until people die. But in this game, you don't really have pressure. You only have globaling surprise. There is no pressure. I previously, when 3.0 launched, I thought, as you know, he did a very good combo here, very good good thing. I can't mitigate right now, so I had to roll away. And the other sniper's doing much more thing. So as 3.0 launched, I did think that you could probably build an AoE team. You know, that if you just have enough of these AoE specs, then they will suddenly become viable because they reach critical mass. You know, if there's so much AoE damage, like this is a thing that happened in arenas. In arenas, you have two very heavy AoE dot specs, and if you use them correctly, then people just die because you pull the fight to the healer, and then you all on attack the healer, you tunnel the healer, and the other damage dealers just die, and you interrupt the healer so he can't get his AoE healing through. Now, this doesn't at all translate to war zones because you have more than one healer. You have two healers, or maybe sometimes three. You've got several tanks, and I had a pre-made group with I think 4 AoE specs, and we just didn't kill anybody. They just healed through it. I really did think that, you know, just have enough AoE and it will be enough, but it's not. Healing is so disproportionately strong that even with a full cleaving AoE team, you can't kill anyone. So no matter how high your numbers are at the end of the game, you are not contributing to winning the game. No matter how good it looks, no matter how much of a pro you look like with these 1.2 million damage that you did with your Madness Sorcerer because you are just that good of a player, you didn't actually contribute anything to the game because every single point of damage you dealt went into the AoE healing. So effectively, you did nothing. You fed the enemy healer's healing. That's what you did. And that's a bit sad. So we really have to kind of start a revolution here. We really have to do this. Players need to play single target specs. Players need to play bursting specs. Players need to play things that actively pressure people. Because what these idiots can't do, I see so many bad healers. What these bad healers can't do, they can't heal single target. They just don't know how to do it. I mean, the healing specs themselves have plenty of options to, you know, save single targets people. You know, maybe with the exception of operatives. Operatives struggle a bit with single target healing, but they, you know, if they are let alone and they can cast, then they can also do that. So every single class has got an option to heal spike damage, but they can't do it because they don't know how to do it. The only thing that these healers ever do is AoE healing. I've seen people who solely got operatives who got focused, who just stood there and cast on themselves as the only player quarter wave because it's a strong spell. They don't know any better. And the very sad thing about this is I mean, we can laugh about that all day, but the problem is it works. That is my biggest quarrel with all of it. It does work. This operative can heal himself when he just used quarter waves on himself. Why? Why does that work? I'm a firm believer that shouldn't be the thing. It really shouldn't be the case. And this game just kind of shows all of this. This is going nowhere. All of this is going nowhere. And I know I'm playing engineering. This is a semi-viable spec. I mean, I very much like it for its way how it plays. I like it for the control it provides. But for really this type of gameplay, I really have to play Marksman. Because applying everything I just said to this game, optimally I should have played Marksman in this particular game, because this is what's needed to kill people. So as you can see right here, as I'm being dotted, the Marksman sniper does kill me. And there was also another guy. I mean, he did kill me through using his volatile. He used diversion on me, so I couldn't mitigate damage properly. So I couldn't, you know, stand in cover. And then a lightning sorcerer, a dot thork, and the sniper himself did kill me there in the end. So They did need 3 people to kill me, but again, I'm not complaining on anything. It's just sometimes people die, and we have also killed some people here. So as I was saying, I should have played marksman, but of course I can't know what kind of game it is before that. The problem with this is it makes very many other specs not viable anymore, and that's very sad, because this game has a very diverse set of specs, or used to have, and a lot of them are not viable anymore because they're not bursting enough. They are not surprising enemies enough with damage. They're not globaling enough. The only thing that they do is they fluff damage. I do not hold any respect for a hatred sin, or a madness hawk, or a lethality operative even, or maybe lethality sniper. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work the same way it did work back in the day. Now, what are the devs supposed to do? Is it a good idea to say, well, we have to rework healers again? Because the healing rework really came in due to the fact that they wanted to have a more interesting PvE approach in healing. So this is the real reason. So we just get the bad end of it here in PvP. We now have healers who can single-handedly heal up the entire enemy team, which is pretty nasty, but yeah. So the game ends here, as you can see here, by a very, very, very small margin. This is, kind of a 2-second error, and the entire game amounted to us tapping the very first node 2 seconds or 1 second later than the other team. Bit unfortunate. So, I am analyzing the final outcome of this game right now, so I'm just thinking about, how did it actually fare? So first I'm looking at the healing. Well, we had 2 healers, who one did 4 million healing, the other one did 2.5, and the other enemy team had 2 healers as well, and they had, exactly the same thing. So now looking at the damage, the enemy team had a 3 million damage Thork, and a 1.3 million damage sniper, and we had also kind of similar, the damage that the sniper didn't deal, I dealt, that difference. It kind of amounts to the same. What I want to say is it does amount to the same kind of result. So these teams were dead even. We even have the same amount of tanks, 1 tank, even the same class of tank, and they even have the same amount of protection. So this was absolutely mirrored. This game was completely even. The only reason we lost this game is because we tapped a bit too late, and I don't think this is too particularly fun. Now, I don't have a good way of fixing this. This is just how PvP is since 3.0. I don't know what to make of it. I just wanted to highlight this with this game, just show once more how some of these games fare, and this also does translate to every other game. So this just doesn't apply to this game. This is just an extreme example of what can happen with the current system, how PvP works. So, in general, this will happen in other games to some degree as well. Not as extreme as in this one, but you will get frustrated because healers don't die. So, again, I don't know what the fix for this is. Anyway, you've been watching for quite a long time now. My name is Drewlik, you've been watching Drewlik PvP, and as always, have a good one.